If you could dress as a storybook character for the day, who would you choose to be? When I was in my early 20s, I chose to be Robin Hood. I have an extensive dress-up box, always have, and I went rummaging through it, and before long I'd found a leather jacket with a big thick leather belt. I had ripped up jeans with green leggings on and boots right up to my knee. I also had a hat, a two-tone hat that I'd made myself. It shines green one way and bronze the other, with a big feather sticking out. I even had a little wooden sword which I tucked into my belt. And then I went to the mirror, I looked at myself and I said, "Check me out, Robin Hood." It wasn't long before I packed all of my gear into my little car. Now, in those days, I drove a 1960s Ford Poplar, a little green car which had a smiley face. It didn't start by the key. Oh, you put the key in, okay, turned it, but it had a little button. You pressed it in and out, in and out, in and out, until the engine chugged over. And if it was raining and you had your windscreen wipers on, as you went up a hill, the windscreen wipers went really, really slowly. And when you came down the hill, they went super fast. Well, it wasn't long before I'd pulled in to my friend Mark's house. I knocked at his door, he answered it, he looked at me and he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm Robin Hood." He said, "I can see that, but what you doing?" I said, "I am going to drive 4 hours north up to Sherwood Forest and sleep like Robin Hood did." He's like, "Hang on a minute, I'll get my gear." He runs upstairs. Before long he's found a hat with a feather. He's got a leather jacket and a belt. He's got some ripped up jeans and some boots. And he says, "I don't have much." I laughed. So I said, "That's who you'll be. You'll be Much the Miller, one of the legendary Robin Hood characters." So before long, we're now chugging away off to see our friend Simon. Knock on his door. Simon opens up the door and he says, "What's going on? You look like Robin Hood." I said, "I am Robin Hood." We told him all about our adventure going up to Sherwood Forest, and he said, "Can I come?" We said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, who shall I be?" We said, "Put on a dress. You can be Maid Marian." His face went bright red. We laughed and said, "Lose the dress. You're Will Scarlet." And so it was that the three of us went all of the way to Nottingham Forest. In Sherwood, we're running and hiding behind trees, running from one to the next. And we can hear people go, "You know, I thought I just saw someone who looked like Robin Hood." We laughed. Now, inside Sherwood is a mighty oak tree. Huge it is. And it's said to be the oak that Robin and the merry men used to gather in. You used to be able to get inside. Now they've roped it off. And when I say get inside, you're thinking, what do you mean get inside the tree? Well, it's hollow. So it was that the three of us crept inside the tree and talked about what we were going to do on our adventure. And we decided that we were going to pitch our tent in the heart of Sherwood. So we made our way back to my little car, put the key in, pressed the little button, and then we left the main road and we went down the higgledy-piggledy, bumpy little trails where you saw deer and rabbit. And before long, we found a beautiful spot to pitch our little tent. And as the sun kissed the earth goodnight, we were telling stories. We lit candles. And then, in the darkness of the night, we heard a roar, like a dragon was coming towards us. It came closer and closer. Something was moving through the forest with huge eyes. They were the eyes of a Land Rover. Somebody was driving a vehicle in the middle of Sherwood Forest in the darkness of the night. They stopped about 50 yards away, and suddenly the lights went out. So we blew out the candles. And now we're sitting in the dark while they're sitting in the dark. We're in the dark, they're in the dark. We're in the dark, they're in the dark. I looked over at my friends and I said, what are we gonna do? They said, well, you're Robin Hood, you check it out. So it was. Armed with my little wooden sword, I walked up to the front of that Land Rover. The moment I stood in front of it, the lights came on, blinding me. I couldn't see a thing. I heard the doors open and two big men climbed out, and I heard one of them shouting, "Get down! Get down!" Now, I don't know about you, but I like to get down at the nightclub. Get down, get my groove on, oh yeah, oh yeah. But you know, somehow, I don't think he was inviting me to the dance. This big man had a large stick and he moved towards me. We called him the Sheriff of Nottingham, for that's what he was. And he came and he smacked me right on the back. Ouch! The staff broke in two. I nearly hit the ground. Managed to keep on my feet. I managed to keep on running. I ran and I ran and I ran and I ran and I ran until there I was. Robin Hood, lost in Sherwood Forest. It was then that I heard the crack of twigs underfoot. Somebody was coming toward me. Was it friend or was it foe? From out of the misty moonlight stepped a foe. It wasn't the sheriff, it was his henchman. He looked as white as I am. He said to me, "Hey, don't worry, let's find your friends." So the two of us walked through Sherwood until we found my friends. The merry men didn't look so merry, they were hiding behind a bush. And there was the Sheriff of Nottingham pacing up and down. And then I saw him reach up into a tree and grab a slim branch and snap! He pulled that branch right off. And then he went to my tent and he took the branch, he lifted it high in the air and he clubbed my tent. I said, "Hey, that's my tent." He looked at me and said, "You'd better be quiet, otherwise I'll hit you again." It was as if Robin Hood and the merry men had all come to witness this, because the forest went deathly quiet. You could have heard a pin drop. The goosebumps were starting to come up on my arms. And then there was an almighty wind. It blew so hard it nearly knocked me off my feet. And when it blew, the trees all swayed over. And one of the trees, the branch limb, hooked into the Sheriff of Nottingham's belt. And as soon as that wind had blown, it stopped. And when it stopped, the trees all stood upright. And when they did, the Sheriff of Nottingham was left dangling up in the air. The henchman looking up at him going, "What do I do? What do I do?" Well, we knew what we were going to do. We grabbed our things, we threw them into my little car, we jumped inside, turned the key, pressed the little button, and we drove out of Sherwood Forest. And once again, Robin Hood escaped from the Sheriff of Nottingham.